Is the Pixar mascot the Pixar lamp or the Pixar ball? Let me know down below. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be tier ranking all 26 Pixar movies as Lightyear just hit theaters. Before I get into this ranking, make sure to hit that like button, comment down below your ranking of your favorite Pixar movies, and make sure to subscribe to that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future tier list rankings like this one. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my tier. Alright, so the tiers I have today are the best of the best, great, good, meh, and bad. The typical tiers that I use for all the different rankings that I do. I have a bunch on my channel, so feel free to check those out. These movies are in no particular order. They are randomized. There are 26 Pixar movies. I'm going to be brutally honest on some of these, and there will be some hot takes, so brace yourselves. If you can't handle the heat, I don't know what to tell you. But without further ado, let's get into this thing, starting off with A Bug's Life, the second ever Pixar movie that was released. I think this movie is a little overlooked. I think that it's really sweet. Does it follow the Seventh Samurai template? Absolutely. It's a plot we've seen multiple times, but it's got a lot of heart to it like a lot of these Pixar movies, and it's just a very simple, fun story. I'm going to put it right here in the good tier. Nothing great, nothing bad, just right down the middle. A really good movie, I think. Next, we've got Brave, a 2012 Pixar film that had a lot of potential. The first act was pretty promising with the Scottish lore, and then you've got like essentially a Disney princess in Pixar, but it really kind of goes off the rails when the whole bear plotline gets introduced, and it's just a very dull Pixar movie. It's one that I find myself zoning out when I watch it. It's just one of the by far least entertaining and enjoyable or even memorable Pixar movies, and because of that, I'm going to put Brave in bad. I'm sorry if that upsets you guys. If you're Brave fans, you know, I think they're out there somewhere, so if you're a Brave fan, let me know in the comments down below. This movie is not it for me. It is easily one of the least rewatchable Pixar movies, just like Cars 2, which might just be the worst Pixar movie. It's actually not on my list. I'll tell you guys what is later, but Cars 2 is a stinker, alright? It's got some memorable moments with Lightning McQueen, but Lightning McQueen takes a massive backseat in this movie as Tow Mater has the spotlight for some reason, and it's just a ridiculous film. It's extremely stupid. It's trying to introduce this like 007 type plotline in a Pixar kids film, and it's not it. It doesn't work for me. It takes the element of Lightning McQueen and Tow Mater and like the racing out of the plot and tries to make it some action film, which just really doesn't work for Cars. It doesn't have the heart, or even the pretty decent storytelling from Cars 1 or 3. So this is by far the worst Cars movie. I'm gonna put it at the back of bad because it is a bad movie, and I actually have Brave above it. Next is gonna be Cars 3, a movie that is actually my favorite in the Cars franchise. It's essentially like a Rocky storyline. It has a ton of heart, and the movie will make you tear up. So I definitely have to put Cars 3 in the good tier, and I'm actually gonna put it right behind A Bug's Life. I prefer A Bug's Life to Cars 3 at this very moment in time. That leads me to our next one, which is Cars 1, and this might hurt some of you guys' hearts out there. Not a fan. I saw this one in theaters in I think 2006 when it came out, and I never really rewatched it. There's a few things this movie gave us that I love, and one of those is Life is a Highway, the just absolute banger by Rascal Flatts. That's like the anthem song for this movie, and it's also still slaps to this day. And if you guys have seen The Office, it gives us a pretty great scene there as well. But Cars 1 has the whole Doc Hudson storyline, which is by far the most compelling part of this movie, but there's just something so dull about Cars, unfortunately. I wanted to love this movie on rewatch, but it just doesn't do it for me. It's a very dull and bland movie. It's one of the longer Pixar films. The runtime really drags, and as iconic as Lightning McQueen and Tow Mater have become just with Pixar lore, it's definitely got to go in the meh category. I want to love this movie a lot more than I do. I just can't really get on board with it. Next, we've got Coco. Remember me, though I have to say goodbye, remember me. If that doesn't make you cry, come on now. I mean, the tears are coming out at the end of that movie. This is one of the most gorgeous Pixar movies by far. Just look at the colors popping on the poster right here. It's pretty awesome to see. I gotta go great with Coco. I think that the music slaps, and it's a really heartfelt story with surprising twists and turns, and it's also just a very impactful story about family and like the afterlife in Pixar. It's very moving. It used to be my top 10. It's fallen back a little bit, but I have to just go great with Coco, which is not bad by any means. Next, we got Finding Dory, the long-awaited sequel to Finding Nemo. I don't love this movie. I liked it a lot more when I first saw it in theaters, but I actually like it more than the common person, because a lot of people will put this in the bad tier or the mad tier. I'm actually gonna go good. I'm actually gonna put it above Cars 3. I think Finding Dory has a lot of moments to love. Hank the Octopus is a scene stealer in this, and we get to learn more about Dory, a really beloved and one of the most iconic Pixar characters by far. I think that it has a great structure. It focuses on Dory. It's not Nemo's story or Marlin's story anymore. Dory's at the forefront. I understand some people can get irritated with her and her memory loss and find her to be kind of just a flat-out annoying character. I don't find that. I think think that this is a really sweet moment. She gets to reunite with her parents, and I like the journey it takes us on. What a wonderful world. When that song is playing, while the 18-wheeler flips and all the animals get back into the water, it's just a great scene. It's a wild movie, but it's a fun time, and I think it's a worthy follow-up to Finding Nemo. Speaking of Finding Nemo, we got it next on the list, and I loved this movie so much growing up. In fact, I watched it nearly every single year, multiple times a year. I mean, I'd watch it like 3 or 4 times every school year. I had like a Nemo piñata at one of my birthday parties. If you grew up in the early 2000s, this movie was the shit. We watched it literally every year in school. It was on a loop pretty much, so I know the movie like the back of my hand. I've seen it so many times. It is one of those Pixar classics. I think it is probably right near the back of my top 10 or right outside my top 10. The only reason I don't have it as high is because I've gotten worn down on it. Like, I acknowledge that it is a pretty much near perfect movie for Pixar. From a parenting perspective to the whole themes of growing up and having to let go of certain things you love, there's so much to love with this movie. I think it's masterfully done for Pixar. I don't think it's one of my personal favorites at this moment just because of where I'm at in life. There's other Pixar movies that appeal to me a little more, and I've seen this one so many times, but I will always appreciate Finding Nemo, and I'm actually going to put it at the top of great. Even though that feels wrong, you know what? I gotta go best of the best. And I don't know what I did in my last Pixar tier in March when Turning Red came out. Finding Nemo deserves a spot in Best of the Best. It's one of the best Pixar movies. Is it currently, you know, one that I'm going to throw on and rewatch as much? No. But it's one of the best Pixar movies, and I think it really deserves to be up there. So next on my list is Incredibles 2. Not The Incredibles 2, Incredibles 2. That's one of the most irritating movie titles in history. I had seen it once in theaters in 2018. I thought it was pretty good. And then I rewatched it last year for my Pixar rewatch. And honestly, I think that it's almost as good as the first. The villain's not as compelling, but I like that Elastigirl's in the spotlight. We see more of the family dynamic among the team. And it's honestly a damn great follow-up. It's not as good as the first, but that's not saying much because the first is one of the best animated movies of all time. I honestly gotta go front of great with Incredibles 2. I like it a little more than Coco, and that's saying a lot because Incredibles 2, I'm telling you guys, a lot of people fell into this thing where everyone kind of collectively was like, oh, it's nowhere near as good as the first, so it kind of soured everyone's thoughts on it. But in reality, I think it's actually a pretty damn good movie. And next up, we got The Incredibles, and I just realized this is actually in alphabetical order, which was not intentional, but hey, let's roll with it. I'm gonna go ahead and put Incredibles at the top of Best of the Best at this moment until maybe another movie takes its spot. But this movie is incredible, as its name might insinuate. This is before the Avengers, the MCU, the Dark Knight, and we get this great of an animated superhero by Pixar, a studio that's been making like the Toy Story movies. Pretty wild that this exists. It's a very clever movie. Syndrome is one of the better Pixar villains. Everyone's motives are understood within this movie, and it's just so refreshing to see an animated superhero movie, not based on any comic book, just its own original IP, and it's genuinely astounding that this movie still holds up and is as good as it is. If you guys haven't rewatched The Incredibles 1 in quite some time, I definitely recommend doing it because I had an absolute blast when I rewatched this last summer. Next on my list is going to be Inside Out, another absolute banger from Pixar. One of their smartest movies to date, I would say, that really kind of makes you rethink the way you live your life. And I love when a Pixar movie or any movie can make you do that. Bing Bong's death is absolutely tragic and never fails to make me tear up. The score by Michael Giacchino is wonderful. The Bundle of Joy track, it's going in Best of the Best, right in front of Finding Nemo, actually. I really have so much appreciation for Inside Out. I think that it is a spectacular movie. And the adventure that we go on inside of Riley's mind and seeing her have to deal with these different emotions in puberty is so relatable because we all grew up. Next is Lightyear, the one you all came here to see, the newly released Pixar movie. Where's it gonna land? That's the real question. If you want to hear my full in-depth thoughts, I have a review for this movie that I will link up above. But Lightyear is a blast at the movies. The role this movie plays within the Toy Story universe is the most impressive part about it because it seems on paper like, oh, it's just a Buzz Lightyear spinoff, but in reality, it actually serves a purpose in the Toy Story movie. And I'm gonna rewatch the Toy Story movies and have like a new appreciation for Buzz Lightyear and Andy, actually. This is the most mind-bending Pixar movie. It reminds me a lot of Interstellar. It's grand. I mean, the visuals are really impressive for a Pixar movie. It feels like you're actually flying in the cockpit in space with Buzz Lightyear. It's just a fun time at the movie. Socks is the MVP, absolute scene stealer. And at this very moment in time, call it recency bias, call it what you will. I'm going top of great with this movie. I don't think it's in Best of the Best just yet, but I had such a fun time and just enjoyed myself with this movie so much. I found it to be so clever as every twist and turn unfolded that it made me really appreciate Buzz Lightyear as a character even more in the Toy Story universe, and I can't wait to rewatch this one soon. Maybe not again in theaters, but I did see it in IMAX and I recommend it because those visuals are really impressive for Pixar. Next is Luca, another Pixar movie that I do not care for. It's actually a bottom tier Pixar movie for me. I'm actually gonna put it in bad, like at the front of bad in front of Brave, guys. I do not like Luca. I kid you not, when I watched this movie, it was like noon, so it was like bright as day. I had already gotten a good night's rest. I had my food for the day, so I was alert. first, and I dozed off like 5 times. I mean, there's nothing of substance really for me in the first 2 acts. It picks up in the 3rd act with the bike race in the rain. That's a great sequence, but it's too little too late. The first 2 acts of this movie don't do enough to get me to care about these characters. It kind of doubles back on itself with the rules it sets up about Luca being able to leave the water and his parents are freaking out, and then like they do it themselves, so it's kind of hypocritical. I just don't really care for this movie. I think the animation is gorgeous. It really is, but the story is really lacking and it will put you to sleep. Like, this movie is a snooze fest. Next, we've got Monsters, Inc. I'm already repping Mike and Soul. You already know this is going in best of the best. And damn it, it's going at top of the best for me at this very moment in time because I love me some Monsters, Inc. It is near my favorite Pixar movie. Again, I know I did this tier ranking back in like March, but my opinions change on these movies. Monsters, Inc. is an elite Pixar movie. The story of them dealing with Boo in this world where screams from humans power the city is so brilliant, and then you got the whole laughter twist in there. This is one of the best animated movies ever. I don't even care what anyone says. It's hilarious, the voice acting is outstanding, and it never fails to pull on the heartstrings. I like feel really sad when this movie ends as we see Sully and Boo kind of have their final moments together. This is for you Stranger Things fans, but I saw this funny video where it was like, Vecna captures me, and then it cues the Monsters, Inc. music, and she just dances away. It was a really funny video because that is super catchy. The music in this movie slaps. It's one of the most creative premises for a Pixar movie. Next is going to be Monsters University, the prequel to Monsters, Inc. I dig this movie. I think that it's going to go in the good tier, and it's actually going to go at the top of the good tier for me. There's a lot to love in this movie, seeing Mike and Sully in their college days, seeing their camaraderie and brotherhood kind of form before the Monsters, Inc. movie, learning why Randall kind of has it out for both of them. It's all well done. It's a really good prequel story, and it's an overhated Pixar movie in my opinion. Next is Onward, one of the most underappreciated Pixar movies by far because of when it came out. It came out in March 7th of 2020, literally the week before the world shut down because of the pandemic. So not a lot of people saw this movie and it kind of went under the radar. At its core, it's a really great story about brotherhood and family, and I myself have an older brother, so I kind of see myself in that relationship. It's a really fun quest-style adventure that's got a wonderful lore to it. The animation is beautiful. There's a sense of like whimsical adventure when you watch this movie. It always puts a smile on my face, and I've seen it 2 or 3 times, and every time I've actually literally cried at the end because of how powerful it is with the brotherhood and the father relationship in this film. I love Onward, and I'm actually going to put it in best of the best, like right here. Like, I love this movie. I don't care what anyone says. If you guys like Onward, let me know down below. I need some fellow Onward fans popping off in the comments because this movie is so underappreciated, and years from now, it'll be the hidden Pixar gem, I think. Next, I'm going with Ratatouille. If you guys know me, you know I love Ratatouille. It's my favorite Pixar movie alongside Toy Story 3, and every day I wake up, it goes back and forth. As of right now, I'm putting it in the top spot for my Pixar ranking. This movie is incredible. It makes me want to chase my dreams. Anyone can cook. Literally, a rat learning to cook makes me think, you know what? Anything in my life that I think I can do or want to do, I'm going to chase that with my all and leave it all on the field, as you would say in a sports game. Anyone can cook, and any dream is worth chasing. This is one of the most inspirational movies I've ever seen. Leigh Festine is a certified banger. It's a perfect movie. Anton Ego is a great villainous character who kind of has this turnaround, and everything about this movie can be applied to my life directly, or anyone's life for that matter. Anyone can cook. You can do anything you set your mind to. Don't let society or someone else tell you how to dictate your life. Watch Ratatouille, chase your dreams, just do it. Next is Soul, a movie that I find highly overrated and was a massive disappointment for me. I really wanted to love Soul, and that just wasn't the case. I don't think it is an outright bad movie. I'm gonna put it in meh. I'll put it above the first Cars, but like, this movie just doesn't do it for me. The first act and the premise is very unique, you know, with the afterlife, but it's almost like Pixar's trying to one-up themselves with giving feelings to different entities. We already saw this done with Inside Out. It's like we're giving souls emotions now. The movie thinks it's super smart on paper, and it's like, oh, look at us, we're so intelligent talking about the afterlife and everything, and then it gives us this whole goofy middle act with our main character getting put in a cat's body. It was just really goofy, and it didn't really feel like it was taking itself as seriously as it thought it was. So as much as I wanted to like this movie, and I do find the music pretty great, it's just an alright to meh movie that's highly overrated in my opinion. Next is The Good Dinosaur, aka the worst Pixar movie. I'm putting it at the back of bad as we speak. What a stinker. This is a rehash of about 5 to 10 different animated movies that have existed, notably The Lion King. It's lacking any emotional connection with these characters. It is a throwaway movie that feels almost like direct-to-DVD, like one of those direct-to-DVD sequels that should have never happened in like the golden era of Disney movies. It's throwaway. It's the most boring, forgettable Pixar movie by far, and if Pixar wasn't on the poster, you legitimately couldn't tell it was a Pixar movie. The animation's great, but it's so throwaway, unfortunately. Next is Toy Story 2. I feel like this movie kind of gets disregarded as the worst Toy Story movie sometimes because it's sandwiched between Toy Story and Toy Story 3, which are just goated movies. But Toy Story 2 is damn good and just as good as those other two in my opinion. The story of Woody maybe moving on from the group and Al's Toy Barn is a wonderful setting. The Prospector is a great villain and they do a good job of fleshing out every character. The backstory on Jesse is heartbreaking. Buzz and Zurg is hilarious in this movie. It's just another wonderful adventure in the Toy Story universe that is a criminally slept on movie. The airport sequence at the end is awesome, and it's another awesome addition. I'm going to put it in best of the best because I legit think it is. I'm going to put it like right here. This is one of the better Pixar movies. I mean, the Toy Story trilogy is like perfect in my eyes. Next is Toy Story 3, which I'm actually going to put right behind Ratatouille at this very moment. Again, guys, they go back and forth pretty much every day for me. It's real tough. But Toy Story 3 is a perfect movie, and it should have ended the Toy Story franchise. I think it is by far the best. At the end, when Andy gives the toys to Bonnie, it makes you so sad, but it's also kind of reminiscent of moving on in life to the next chapter, which we all can relate to. Moving on can be hard, change is scary. This movie teaches us that it's all going to be okay. Lotso Huggin' Bear, the best Pixar villain by far in my opinion. The daycare setting is just wonderful, and this movie is so fresh for a third movie in a franchise. Toy Story 3 slaps to this day, is a top 2 Pixar movie for me. Next is Toy Story 4, a movie that I have soured on a lot over time. I used to be a big advocate for this movie, but now I don't think it's that necessary. It could have been like a 10-minute short film. It takes away the core characters of Toy Story, and it's just a Woody story, which is fine, but it's Toy Story, not Woody's story. It should have just been a Woody movie, essentially, or a Woody Disney Plus show. It's a mad movie. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to put it right here. I think it's better than Soul, but it's just a mad movie. There's no Buzz Lightyear hardly in this movie, and Buzz and Woody are like the main duo. While it does pull on my heartstrings at the very end and really kind of gets me emotional, I don't love the journey that it goes on with Forky, and a lot of times this movie can just be irritating and a shell of what the first 3 are. Next is the OG Toy Story, a classic Pixar movie, one that also I feel like kind of gets overlooked now because it's the first and it's old and we got these new flashier Pixar movies in front of it. It's still one of the best. It's super short and the story's perfect. It's Woody and Buzz. Woody's jealous. They both get stuck on this journey together. The character development for the two of them is splendid to see, and the moment where they have that callback to "that's not flying, it's falling" with style. One of the coolest moments in the entire movie. It's perfect. It flies by. One of the most rewatchable Pixar movies, to be honest with you. It's my number 3 right behind Toy Story 3. This movie rocks. And if you guys haven't seen it in quite some time, the animation isn't as fresh as it is now or as, visually popping, but the movie slaps, and it is the reason we have all these other movies because of the success of Toy Story. Next we have Turning Red. I do not like Turning Red. I think I might have put it in good in the last tier. I don't know. It's a mad movie, and honestly, it's like right here. It's very mad to me. Like, it has a cool song, and I like some of the themes they try and explore, but honestly, the movie just feels like, again, a direct-to-streaming movie, because it kind of is. It didn't even get the theatrical release. It's clearly like a metaphor for growing up, kind of like Inside Out, but it's just a really unforgettable movie. Like, I genuinely forgot it came out this year, and I forgot that I even watched it, just because there's not too much remarkable about it. It's a dull movie, honestly, and I just forget that it exists, especially when compared to all these other wonderful Pixar movies we have. Next is Up. My goodness, do I love this movie, and is it one of the saddest movies I've ever seen? Absolutely, but it's got that sweet sense of adventure as well. It's a heartwarming movie, it's a heartbreaking movie, it's my girlfriend's favorite Pixar movie. I'd be remiss if I didn't put it in best of the best, because it is one of my top favorite Pixar movies. Adventure is out there. We're not always guaranteed tomorrow, so we need to live our best life every single day. This movie teaches you that. Take risks, go have fun, live your life, and Up really hits that home. I gotta go best of the best, and I'm gonna go right here. I'm gonna go right here, which is high, because I love Ratatouille, Toy Story 1 and 3, Monsters Inc., and Incredibles. Up is right there. It's a top 6, top 5 Pixar movie for me. It really does hit right in the chest every time I watch it. And if you feel like, you're kind of stuck in one place and you want to make changes or go on an adventure or just have a new perspective on where you're at right now, rewatch Up and it will do that for you, I guarantee it. And last but arguably least is WALL-E. My biggest hot take was somehow saved for last on this list. WALL-E will be a lot of people's best of the best. It'll be a lot of people's great. It'll be a lot of people's good. That's not the case for me. This movie is dreadful for me, and I understand it's got a great score, I understand its message about the environment and humanity's impact on that, but I just don't care for it. Is it sweet at times? Absolutely it is. The romance between Wally and Eve and the development of that is pretty cool to see at times, but the movie puts me to sleep every time I watch it. I've been disinterested in this since I was a child way back in the day, and unfortunately, I gotta go meh with it. I was originally gonna go bad, but I'm gonna pull the brakes back and say, you know what, maybe it's just meh, but I can't go too high. I'm gonna put it like back of meh. I know this is by far my hottest take. It's just a movie that I don't connect with, nor ever care to rewatch. I couldn't watch it as a kid. I can't watch it now. it just doesn't do it for me. It takes a lot out of me to try and watch this movie. If I need to go to sleep at night, maybe I'll throw on WALL-E. It is better than the movies I put in bad. I just don't dig it, so it has to go in meh. But that's my tier list ranking of all the Pixar movies. What do you guys think of it? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know your ranking of the Pixar movies as well. Again, you can kind of see what my ranking would be if we're starting at Good Dinosaur at worst and we kind of snake our way up from here all the way to our best. That's what my actual numerical ranking would probably be. I'm not going to read it out, but you guys want to pause it, you can do it that way. My ranking's always changing for Marvel, Pixar, DC, all these different franchises. So this is my ranking as of June 16th, the day this video goes up. What do you think of Lightyear? I have a review. Make sure to check that out. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. It would mean the world. You guys have been killing it with support lately, but I can't wait to keep on making more videos. I'll have another tier ranking out tomorrow involving the Toy Story characters and the Lightyear characters, so that should be a fun one. But thank you guys again for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. To infinity and beyond!